Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for my first Yolopark figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at the AMK model kit versions of the Cogged and Cogless bot modes for Orion packs, B127, D16 and Elita 1, based off their appearances in Transformers 1. Now I got mine as review samples direct from Yolopark. I've popped some links to their site in the description. For full transparency, they are affiliate links. Any commission earned will be reinvested back into the channel and put towards making new content. If you do decide to order these, make sure you use the discount code in the description right above those links for 5% off your order. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new Transformers content goes live on the channel. Let's start off with the Cogless figures boxes first, then we'll move on to the cogged ones. As for their box art, we'll be pretty quick with this because we've got 8 figures in total to look at just in this one video. Up front, we've got an image of each of the respective characters on their boxes, an open window, a mini one, showcasing the figure/model kit inside, a Transformers 1 logo, another Transformers logo, as well as this circle that lets us know that bonus parts are included, their jetpacks and their transformation cogs, that's for every single one of them. Around the back, we've got images of the cogless figures as well as the cogged ones, and a little teaser for the upcoming AMK Pro Final Form Megatron and Optimus Prime figures. I'm really excited for these two. Fingers crossed they don't take too long to release them. Right off the bat, these boxes are significantly larger compared to what we just saw, and they feel more weighty and substantial too. Let's look at Orion's box again, that way we've got a proper 1v1 comparison versus his Cogless bot mode box art. Up front, an image of Orion both in bot and alt mode, although this figure cannot transform. You can flip open the top cover it's held in place with Velcro to reveal an open window showcasing all of Optimus's bits and pieces, and some figure photography underneath that top flap. Around the back, this artwork is pretty much identical compared to what we just saw with the box art for the Cogless version of him. What we're going to do now is get all of their accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything they come with. So this is all of the Cogless stuff. We'll switch to the cogged bot mode accessories after we're done with this. They each come with a jetpack and it's the same mold for every single one of them. They can wear their jetpacks. I'll show you how that works when we're looking at the figures. They're cast in this shiny gunmetal plastic. I don't believe that's paint, but it could be. They have, however, painted all of the little grills and detail bits in matte black. They also each come with a transformation cog. It's the same mold for all of them, and if you're wondering whether or not you can actually pop this in the holes in their chests, for D16 and Orion, you can, but for Elita and B127, you just can't do it. For Elita's hands, we get these splayed out finger ones with the white painted armor plates on the back of them. 2 closed fists that double up as gripping hands, although she doesn't actually come with anything to grip onto. And then some relaxed open palm hands. For D16, we get some pointing finger hands. I like the sculpt of the finger, how it subtly flares up like that. Closed fists, once again doubling up as gripping hands. And 2 relaxed open palm hands. For Orion packs, we get these 2 finger pointing hands cast in this shiny metallic blue plastic, closed fist/gripping hands, as well as 2 relaxed open palm ones. B surprisingly comes with a bonus accessory. This is not a battle mask. It serves a purpose in the movie. I won't give away what it is. I have seen the film, no spoilers. I'm glad it's included. It is missing a lot of paint. That's something I'm going to have to try and fix myself. For B's hands, the same array as Elita. We've got the splayed out finger open palm hands, closed fist/gripping ones, and 2 relaxed open palm ones. What we're going to do now is move on to the cogged figures accessories. Everyone suddenly just got a hell of a lot larger. Let's look at Elita's accessories first. She comes with this Cybertronian blaster, the same one that Optimus Prime has actually. There's some shiny metallic silver paint top and bottom, whereas the middle part is cast in this dark gunmetal grey plastic. For her hands, we get a pointing finger hand as well as a trigger finger hand for the blaster. Two closed fists that don't double up as gripping hands this time. You can see the thumb actually sits on top of the pointer finger, so you can't wedge anything in there. Then two splayed out finger / relaxed open palm hands. I tell you what, for model kits, there's a surprising amount of paint on these. We've got darker gunmetal on both of D16's weapons, but for the fusion cannon, they've also used that shiny metallic silver just to highlight all of the little greebly bits and pieces. I'll show you what he looks like wearing these a little bit later. D16 has got some big hands, and that makes sense because he is the biggest figure of the bunch. These ones are relaxed-ish, open palm hands, but the fingers are curling in. Two closed fists, then non-curling in finger open palm hands. For Optimus, Orion, the same blaster as Elita, still loving this shiny metallic silver. For his hands, a two-finger pointing for the left and a gripping hand for his blaster for the right. Two splayed out finger hands. They're made of this softer PVC plastic because instead of having the ball joint on the bottom of the hands, now the ball joints are on their forearms, so they've slightly changed the design between both versions of each character. And he's also got two closed fists. I've already installed them on here. B once again fares better than everyone else. He's got two face plates, the normal one and the battle mask with a translucent visor, plus you get his blaster cannon that just plugs onto the ball joint for his wrist peg. Then two trigger finger hands in case you want to have him dual wielding the Cybertronian rifles if you want to steal them from Elita and Orion packs. The fingers are once again made of a soft rubbery plastic. And this back hand armor is removable, just in case you want to swap these pieces between the trigger finger hands and the closed fists. Because you don't have to have the blades on the back of the closed fists. You can grab the armor plates, pop them on here, take the blades, use them on the open palm hands or the trigger finger ones. These blades are cast in translucent plastic, and I love the way that looks. I guess I should have called them splayed out finger hands. You can see what I mean anyway, the fingers are curled in a bit. Let's move on to the figures themselves. Standing straight up and down in the light box, starting off with the Cogbot Mode figures first. What you may not know about me is, this is the first Yolopark video I've done, that's true. But these aren't the first Yolopark figures I've owned. You see, I'm a secret Yolopark fanboy. I built their larger Optimus Prime model kit, not the huge thing, that's really expensive. I simply couldn't afford that one, but I got the DLX scale piece, loved it to bits. I picked up their AMK Pro G1 figures, and I've got their entire Rise of the Beast line. So I've been collecting this stuff in the background. I also did a booth tour for Yolopark last year at ACGHK, and I met the team again in person this year, and they're a lovely bunch of people. They're very passionate about what they do. I saw these for the first time at the convention, and it's been a blisteringly fast turnaround between seeing them at the convention and now having the final production versions in hand. They're extremely well painted, they're super accurate to the models from the movie, the proportions are spot on, and while they don't come with a ton of accessories, the basics are covered. You've got the jetpacks, and they play a relatively important role in the movie, so I'm chuffed that they decided to chuck them in the box. The T-Cogs, not essential whatsoever, because these are cogless figures. Still, they threw them in there anyway. Moving on to the Cogbot Mode figures. Everything about them I just find more appealing than their smaller counterparts. Yes, the smaller ones represent the characters from the start of the movie, and that's important. But seeing them in this larger format, with more detail, more paint, more accessories, for some more than others granted, if you are sitting here right now trying to pick between the two different sizes of bots, I wouldn't be surprised if more than a few of you are leaning towards the Cogbot Mode versions. They can transform in the movie when they look like this, and they're just more substantial in hand. They feel like better value propositions. The price point is still solid on all of these, but something about these Cog figures just do it for me. So how this is going to work is we'll check out each figure one after another, but we'll start off with Cogless, do a snap transition, check out the Cogged mode, and go through each of them like that. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Elita 1's Cogless mode head sculpt. It's small. Like, really small. It's smaller than my thumb. The detail's still really sharp. We've got a defined mouth and nose, the eyes are well painted in this shiny metallic blue, and there's detail sculpted on the surface of them. There's some gunmetal paint on her ears, and we've got silver for the tips of these little prongs up top, as well as in this sculpted panel on her forehead. The neck is quite long, but that is accurate to the design of Elita from Transformers 1. Around the back, this panel is removable, but the tolerances are really tight. It's quite challenging to get your fingernail underneath it. But the benefit of it having tight tolerances is it looks seamless and it's not going to go anywhere. For all of these minor bots, I'm going to have them with their jetpacks on because it helps beef them up a little, and it adds more visual interest, not just around the back, but from the front as well. You can see the top of the jetpack poking out over her shoulders. There isn't a lot of paint on Elita, and unfortunately the one big complaint I have with her is the reddish purple maroon colour. It looks okay, but it's not accurate. In the movie, she's more of a brighter metallic pinkish purple. It's something that I could fix myself with some paint. I don't think I'm going to do that. This is not a deal breaker for me. She still looks like Elita 1 from the film. It's just something to be aware of. Around the front, we do have the section where her transformation cog would go. But like I said in the accessory segment, it's not actually compatible with that port. That's just some sculpted detail on the surface, unlike what you're about to see with D16 and Orion packs. Her legs may look long now, but they're about to get even longer. You'll see what I mean when we look at the Cogbot mode. Her legs do sit down quite low at the hips, but that does allow for maximum range of motion. Like, these legs can go all the way forward, so she can pull off dynamic poses no problem. And the hip skirts are articulated. We've got sculpted detail absolutely everywhere. All of these little intricate greebly bits and pieces dotted around the place. The color distribution on Elita, I like. The dark purple up top, then the legs being predominantly white. It helps make them look even longer because white is a slimming color, so encasing the gunmetal armor in these white panels, it gives her this very exaggerated, spindly look for her legs. And it acts as a point of difference between the two versions, because for the cogless one, we've got the white for the calves. When she gets her transformation cog, there's more purple down below on her legs. Now, she was small before, but the cogged version is absolutely massive, and I think her legs are a big part of the reason why she's so tall, because they go on forever. These are some huge legs. They've also integrated some alt mode bits into the design. Now we've got her wheels as part of her ankles, and you can see straight through them. That can't have been easy to engineer while still maintaining a decent amount of articulation. Her head sculpt may be reminiscent of what we just saw. It's not like they just grabbed this sculpt and supersized it. It's genuinely a brand new sculpt for this version. Her facial details are way more visible now thanks to the increased size. You can make out her chin and her lips and her nose. There's added detail on the front of the head sculpt in these earpieces. The silver panel is wider and it too is more detailed. And they've shrunk down the little horns and they've tucked them around the back of the head sculpt this time, rather than flaring them out over the top like they were before. So we already know the colour isn't quite there. the colour for Elita on the box art is. That's 100% accurate, but this is too dark and not metallic enough for her. They also missed out on the carbon fibre texture for the white sections on her chest armour. I don't know how you would fix that. I'm sure there's a way. Let me know if you know how to paint carbon fibre, that crosshatch weave detail on the surface of something, because I've never attempted to do that myself. Her neck is still long, but now it's gunmetal, and she's very skinny at the waist before she flares out for this hip skirt area. These are articulated, by the way, so they'll come into play when we get to articulation. In all my years collecting Transformers figures, ever since I was a kid, I've never seen a company do something like this for the elbow joint. There's a normal hinge forward and back, but there's also a bend inwards. So if you have her holding the rifle, you can properly get her to hold it cross-body without having to rely on just the normal elbow bend and a swivel at the forearm. It might be the first time that I've seen a company do this, but I hope it's not the last, because it's entirely seamless. It's only there, it only presents itself when you want to use it. Coming down to her very long legs, her knee pads are part of the bottom of the legs, so when you bend the knees, they will flare out like this. We've got some gold paint on the outside of the legs, but visible screws on the inside. They may be eyesores, but they're not super noticeable. Most of the time, you're just not going to see them. The benefit of having them there is, if you find over time her joints are getting loose, grab yourself a Phillips head screwdriver, tighten up the joints, and that should sort them out. I didn't think I was going to love the cogless bot modes because the cogged ones are just cooler. Yeah, they're bigger and bulkier and more beastly. Something about this mini D16 Megatron, this pocket-sized version of him, I'm on board with, especially because they've given him the old-school Marvel Comics style gunmetal helmet. His eyes are this bright, vibrant yellow, and you can see all of that sculpted detail on the surface of them. The face is painted in shiny metallic silver, and there's a lot more of it on the rest of his body. Some sculpted detail on the back panel, but that is removable because he has his jetpack, which I am going to display him with. Like I said, all of the miners are going to have their jetpacks. This plugs in place very securely. Once you have it installed on there, it's not going anywhere. Around the front, we've got the blue dot and the red sections, very G1 Megatron-esque. And we've got the hole for the transformation cog that this time is deep enough to actually accommodate it. It doesn't, plug in place at all, but if you want to have it rattling around in his chest, totally doable. So on one side, he has what looks like a Decepticon logo, with some scuffing and scratching on it. That is such a nice little paint app. I didn't think they were going to do the damage on the surface. I thought it would be a clean Decepticon logo. This is movie accurate, and I won't give away what it is or what it stands for. It's not necessarily what you think. You'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. Coming down to his legs, more G1 goodness at play with the gunmetal chonky looking boots. The whole shape of the bottom part of the legs with the curve and then the grill detail on the outside screams G1 Megatron, just in a, like I said, pocket-sized form factor. Whoa, D16 is now a big beefy boy. This figure is the biggest of all of the Cogbot Mode releases. While I saw a lot of G1 design inspiration with the smaller version of him, I'm seeing a lot less of it here. Yes, it's still present, but he's so much smoother now. I'm seeing more IDW Megatron at play with larger D16. The gold tinted silver they've used in certain places on the body is relatively movie accurate, if not slightly more saturated than what I remember seeing on screen. So they ditched the gunmetal helmet, and I would have loved to have seen it continue on with this design. Yes, it's more classic, the all-silver look, but they've added some gold in there, like I said, so not necessarily all silver. But still, you can see what they were going for. We've got the gunmetal on the side bottom pieces of the helmet, and some bright yellow eyes, which are meant to be orange, so I am going to fix that myself because in the movie, his eyes are very clearly orange when he looks like this. Around the back, he's got this huge honkin' backpack that is removable. But he doesn't have like a back plate or anything to cover up the peg ports, so I would suggest just leaving it on unless seeing it poking out from over his shoulders at certain angles just ruins this piece for you. I highly doubt that's going to be the case. Most of us are going to leave it in place, I'm sure. Seeing some red underneath his shoulder armor is a nice touch. It's a pop of color on an otherwise very silver, champagne gold, and gunmetal figure. The fusion cannon, just like the backpack, is removable. But just like the backpack, I'm always going to have him displayed with it. How can you have Megatron without the fusion cannon? This one, on the other hand, is a bit random. I don't even really remember him using this in the movie, so I am not going to have it on my D16. He doesn't have a Decepticon logo in the middle of his chest plate, but the one from his shoulder armor in his Cogbot Mode is still present here, and it looks just as scuffed up as it did before. We've got some glossy red paint underneath the chest armor, as well as that blue dot smack bang in the middle. Coming down to his legs, they're huge. We've got some sculpted detail and painted detail on the inside of his thighs, but they removed the ribbing that was sculpted on the outside of his calves for his Cogbot Mode. There's also less to look at on the front of his legs. I prefer the detail on the smaller one, yet the size of this piece, it's a real catch-22. I'm struggling to pick which of the two looks for D16 is my favorite. It's a mini little Orion Pax. This guy is teeny tiny, but he scales accurately compared to D16 and Elita. As you can see, he's smaller than his friend. The cog situation, you can kind of wedge that in there if you remove the chest armor. I'm not going to do that, but you can. There's enough of a gap in the cog port for it to fit. He's got the orange badge on the front, and the head sculpt with the blue painted eyes looks fairly accurate to me. That does look like Orion Pax in his Cogbot Mode from the movie. Around the back, this silver plate is removable, which is a darn shame to have to remove it because that is very well painted. The jetpack, going to be installed on him just like all the others. I'm not sure about the smokestacks. They're meant to be there, but he can't transform at this point, so he shouldn't really have smokestacks if you think about it. His waist is quite skinny, but his upper torso is wide as thanks to the shoulder armor with those smokestacks on them. Coming down to his legs, this looks like G1 Optimus Prime goodness. We've got the silver thighs and then the grille detail on the front of the blue sections on his legs. Even the toes look like G1 Optimus, and we've got the little pieces that stick up and out off the back of his feet. These are reminiscent of the silver gas cans, I think is what they're supposed to be for Truck Mode Optimus. Yet none of that stuff would be functional when he's in this mode. Oh boy, I found my favorite figure of the bunch so far. This guy is awesome. There is nothing little about Optimus now. This was him before, this is him after. It's quite the glow up. The interesting thing about Cogbot Mode Optimus, while at this point in the movie he doesn't have the Matrix, that's why he's still Orion Pax and not Optimus Prime, Yolopark decided to throw in a little bit of an Easter egg. The Matrix is in his chest, and it's been fully painted, not just in silver, but there's some blue metallic and gold there too. Was it necessary to include it? No, absolutely not, but I am glad they did. It's a really nice Easter egg, like I already said. Around the back, we've got this silver armor, just like the smaller version of himself before I removed it and replaced it with the jetpack. And they've taken a leaf out of 3-Zero's book with some extra sculpted detail on the inside underneath these spinal column plates. So when you crunch him forward, all of this extra sculpt work is revealed. I just realized we haven't even discussed his head sculpt yet. It looks more serious compared to what we saw with Orion. This guy has a bit of a smirk to him. His head sculpt is way smaller and it's narrower up top. For bigger Orion, he's got the ear fins now painted in shiny metallic silver, and he looks like he wants to kick some serious butt. The one big takeaway for me with this larger Orion is the proportions are spot on to the CGI model. We've got the broad shoulders, the narrow waist, the long legs. The arms are slightly long, but that's exactly how they should be. And the paint is outstanding. The shiny metallic silver is just that. When light bounces off the surface, this silver pops. Coming down to the legs, they are very similar to Cogless Orions. They just removed some extra steps and sculpted detail, greebly bits and pieces on some of the armor plating. We still have the gas cans, but now they're painted in silver. The grills around the front with the matte black in between the silver slats, and some gunmetal sections. What's interesting is, I don't think I've ever seen this engineering either for a figure's ankles. There's a ball joint in the foot, and there's a hinge above it, so you can move the entire mechanism forward, then you can use the ball joint. It's something that I never even thought about really, but now that I've seen it, if you can accommodate a joint like that, absolutely go for it. B127 is the smallest of the Cogless Bot Mode figures. He's smaller than Elita, he's smaller than Orion, and he's absolutely smaller than D16. He lacks a lot of paint, and I think I know the reason why, because the Cogbot Mode version of him is covered in paint from head to toe. You'll see what I mean. His head sculpt looks very accurate to me, and they've painted his eyes in this soft metallic blue. You can pop the mask on his head if you want to, but then you're covering up all of that stunning silver, so I would maybe just try it once, use it in a pose or two for figure photography, ditch the mask, and never think about it again. Around the back, you can see the ribbing on the back of his neck area that's visible from the front. If you have him looking up, most of the time you're not really going to see it. You can remove this back armor plate, which is on there very securely. Then we can bring in the jetpack. That too plugs in place securely, it's not going anywhere once it's been installed. It does stick out over his shoulders and helps bulk him out. Can we fit his cog in his cog port? Absolutely not. There was no way this piece was ever going to fit in there. That gap is far too small to accommodate a piece like this. Seeing the chest armor curve around the way it does reminds me of B's Cybertronian look from the start of the Bumblebee movie. He was also called B127 in that film. I don't think the movies are connected, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you think of the whole situation down in the comments. There's a lot of gunmetal on B's legs for his calf/knee area. The feet almost look like there could be wheels in them. Knowing that he can't transform when he looks like this, we'll just write it off as him having quite large, bulky looking feet. Okay, now this is a beautiful looking piece. The shiny gold all over him. Now I can see where the paint budget went for B127. It was his Cogbot mode. This guy is slathered in shiny metallic gold. And we've got some silver and gunmetal, plus some metallic blue for his eyes. If you get one and you can't remove the battle mask, we'll install it in just a second. Well, it's not stuck. Some reviewers have said that it might be glued in, they just can't get it out, it's too tight. I thought the same, until I dismantled the head sculpt because it's a model kit, you can do that, and noticed there was a screw in the back of the head, and it was screwed into the back of the battle mask. You can see where the plastic has been chewed up a little. Once you remove that screw, the head sculpt is still stable enough when you connect everything else up, but now you can easily switch out the faceplates. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case for everyone's B127, but if it is, now at least you know how to fix it. With the battle mask on, the translucent visor having some detail behind it, that looks great, man, and seeing the visor combined with all of the gold paint, this screams G1 Goldbug to me. I've never been a huge fan of Goldbug. Then again, now that I'm seeing this look, I am tempted to display him like this. Let me know what you think, battle mask or normal faceplate. This backpack, the way it's curved and how it has the line work on it, it screams War for Cybertron / Fall of Cybertron Bumblebee to me. Maybe I'm the only one seeing it, but the shoulder pads too, if you added some red in there, that would look like the detail work on the game versions of Bumblebee. They've taken some of the best design elements from all of the different looks that Bumblebee's had over the years and combined them into this one piece. Proportions are once again king for B127. The broad shoulders accentuated by those shoulder pads, the thicker forearms, and then the narrower waist. It's a stylized look for him, but then he's planted with these big chonky feet. The hip skirts are articulated, we'll touch on them in the articulation segment. I am curious to see what he looks like with the blades on, so let's give that a go. Sick is the answer to that. The blades, translucent blue plastic, they look like they're Energon weapons, and they add a much needed different pop of colour to a figure that is predominantly gunmetal, silver, and very shiny gold. So, in my collection, B127 is going to be sporting these blades. Or maybe blade, just one of them on one side and the blaster on the other. Sometimes I feel like a big kid, but popping on the blaster, when you push it on the ball joint, these parts flare out, so now it looks like the blaster has transformed out of his forearm. This is some neat engineering that wasn't necessary. They could have done switch out pieces, but they knew they could do it and they could do it well. It's not in the way at all. It doesn't affect articulation, it doesn't affect aesthetics. So if you can do something like this without ruining the figure, I don't see why not. Coming down to his legs, I don't really know how to describe what I'm looking at. There's a lot of gold, that's for sure. We've got some gunmetal, both painted and also just the cast plastic. The way the engineering works, how armor pieces slide out of the way and then more bits come out from underneath other armor plates, very clever. You'll see how all of this stuff comes into play in the articulation segment. Before we can move on to comparisons and the rest of the video, let's put B127 back to stock. Et voila. If you find it's difficult to install the hands without the forearm springing open like this, just grab the armor top and bottom, and now you can access that ball joint without anything moving around on you. And to switch out the faceplate, you remove the ears first. These are separate pieces, model kit, don't forget. Take off the top of the head, then you can access the faceplates. For a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have all of the cogless figures standing together. Scaling looks bang on to me. D16 is the biggest, and B127 is the smallest. I don't think Hasbro are ever going to tackle these because they make transforming figures, and these, by design, not having transformation cogs, simply can't do that. Speaking of Hasbro, this is their Transformers 1 Optimus Prime as part of their Studio Series line. Not Orion Pax, this is him in his final mode, so he's meant to be significantly larger than the cogless version of himself. Either the Hasbro figure is too small, or the Yolopark figures are too big, and I doubt that's the case because B127 is already tiny. I would have liked a Voyager/Leader class version of this particular look for Optimus. Deluxe, too small, it doesn't scale, and it doesn't work for me. This is more like it. That's the scale I want from Optimus Prime and Megatron by Hasbro. We'll ditch the cogless figures In the next clip, I just wanted to see what everyone looked like standing side by side. The cogged figures tower over the cogless versions of themselves. They just nail the proportions. Seriously, they look that darn good standing together all in a row. I can't wait to display these figures on the shelf. Normally, I don't mix and match scales. I'm going to have these next to the DLX versions from 3.0. Yes, those ones are significantly bigger than this. But that also means that these can stand in front of them, and they're not going to take up a ton of room on the shelf. The only upside I can see here is that I can put the Hasbro one in alt mode, and then I can have the Yolopark ones as the bot mode representations. He's far too small, and he's stumpy and weird looking. The proportions are so far off from being accurate, it's not even funny. Going over articulation, starting off with Cogless Elita 1. Her head sculpt is on a ball joint, looking forward and back, swivel and pivot side to side. Her arms are on ball joints at the shoulders, going forward and back up to there, combined with the butterfly that mostly just hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, single bend at the elbow going to 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. The torso doesn't go forward and back, but you do get swivel. Her hip skirts can flare out, and then her legs will go forward and hinge out slightly to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going past 90. And then her feet are on ball joints, good for forward and back, swivel, as well as ankle tilt. For Cogged Elita, her head sculpt is on multiple different joints, a ball joint underneath the neck and also one up under the head sculpt, looking forward to there, looking up to there, heaps of range for dynamic posing, swivel, and tons of pivot side to side. Her arms will go up to there, forward and back on ball joints. There's a butterfly at the shoulder that doesn't hinge up and down, it's just left and right. Double bend at the elbow going past 90 before these two armor plates collide. Then we've got another joint that actually hinges inwards, and you're meant to use that to help her hold onto her rifle. Or you can orientate it this way, and now she's got even more bend at the elbow going forward. For her wrist peg, it's a ball joint. Her torso crunches forward to there, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. Her hip skirts can flare out to there. The legs will drop down and go forward pretty much the full way, but they do flare out a little, going out to there. Just make sure you collapse everything back up, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going way past 90. And then for the ankles, we've got a joint integrated into the tire/wheel. Her feet will go forward and back. We get rotation as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to Cogless D16. His head sculpt's also on a ball joint, looking forward and back. That's a very stiff joint. We get swivel and pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there before the butterfly joint kicks in. Now it goes even further. Going forward and back, there's a ball joint at the shoulder, so you get a bit of flex out of it. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. No crunch at the torso, swivel though, going left and right. His hip skirts move a little, but nothing crazy, so just try and get them out of the way so they don't collide with the silver paint on his thigh armor. His legs will go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going past 90. And then a ball joint for the ankles, good for forward and back, swivel, as well as ankle pivot. Big D16's head sculpt is on multiple joints, just like we saw with the Elita 1, looking forward to there, looking up to there. We also get swivel and pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there. The shoulder armor does collide with the torso, which limits range. Going forward and back, there's a butterfly joint that doesn't hinge up and down. Swivel at the bicep underneath this armor. Double bend at the elbow, easily going the full way. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. His torso crunches forward and back, swivel and pivot side to side. Hip skirts will move out of the way. Not a ton, but enough. the legs will go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going to 90. And then a ball joint for the ankle, forward and back, rotation, ankle tilt. Then we've got toe articulation. Cogless Orion Pax, let's get started. His head sculpt also on a ball joint, the same as D16 and Elita, looking forward and back, swivel and pivot. His arms will go up to there, then the butterfly joint kicks in for a crazy range of motion going up. Going forward and back on the ball joint at the shoulder, that also gives you a bit of tilt. Swivel at the bicep underneath the shoulder armor. Double bend at the elbow going the full way, no problem. Then for his wrist peg, it's a ball joint. Swivel at the midsection. His hip skirts can articulate up further than what we saw on D16. They're fiddly though, so take your time with it. His legs will go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, going just past 90, but the back of his leg collides with the back of his thigh, so it is more limited. Then a ball joint for the ankles, forward and back, swivel, as well as ankle tilt. When you're moving Cog Orion's head around, watch out for his ear spikes, because they're made of that relatively brittle feeling model kit style plastic. It's on a ball joint, so looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel and pivot side to side. That's a very stiff neck joint. His arms will go up to there as these little bits move out of the way. Going forward and back, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. His torso crunches forward on multiple joints to there, going back, not so much, swivel and pivot side to side. His hip skirts are on a couple of different joints getting out of our way, the legs will go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, going the full way. Then a ball joint for the ankles, forward and back, rotation, ankle tilt, and we get toe articulation. And lastly for articulation, B127, Bumblebee. His head sculpt, ball joint, good for forward and back, swivel as well as tilt. His arms, the same array of joints as everyone else. Going up to there, then even further if you rely on this joint. Going forward and back, it's on a ball joint, so you get some left and right. Swivel at the bicep, that moves very freely. Double bend at the elbow, just past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. Swivel at the waist. Hip skirts can flare out, the legs will go forward to there, going out to there. Swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, I'll call that 90. Ball joint for the ankles, forward and back, rotation. Ankle tilt, which is restricted due to the design of the feet themselves. For big B127, his head sculpt is on a ball joint, looking forward to there, looking up to there, heaps of range actually, swivel and pivot side to side. His shoulder pads are articulated so we can get those out of the way. His arms will go up to there, going forward and back. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow, then for the wrist peg, a ball joint. His torso crunches forward and goes back, swivel, and pivot side to side. His hip skirts flare outwards, and his legs will go forward, not to here, but all the way up. That's a crazy range of motion. They'll go out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going past 90. B's got massive feet, so they had to engineer them differently to everyone else's. They go forward and back, but it's the bottom part that's moving mostly. Don't forget to close that piece back up. You get some swivel and ankle tilt, plus a little bit of toe articulation from this front piece. Wrapping up on Yolopark's Transformers 1 line so far, we're still waiting on the AMK Pro final look versions for Optimus Prime and Megatron. When they come out, I will do my best to pick them up because I've enjoyed every second of looking at these figures. They're so fun to pose, they come with a decent amount of stuff, more so for the larger format Cogbot Mode figures of course, and the paint is just sublime on every single one of these. Well, not so much for B127 in his cogless mode, but when he's cogged, he more than makes up for it. That gold is sensational. So at the end of this, do I recommend these pieces? I think it's probably pretty clear at this point. I wholeheartedly do. If you're a fan of this movie, you are going to adore these figures, either the smaller ones or the larger format ones. If you're all in on transforming figures only, you can still get the cogless ones because in the movie they don't transform. You are not ruining your golden rule of only picking up Transformers that can transform because they're not supposed to transform. I hope that makes sense to you. I still see value in the larger ones personally because they represent the perfect, the most spot-on accurate proportions-wise looks for these characters in plastic format. The Studio Series Optimus looks nowhere near as good to me as this Yolopark one does. Am I willing to sacrifice everything? Paint, accessories, detail, proportions, for the sake of being able to turn it into a truck? No, absolutely not. But that's just me. I know we all collect differently, and if you're one of those people who only likes Transformers figures that can turn into vehicles, then these may not be for you. Except for the cogless ones for the reason that I just gave you. Long story short, awesome movie, fantastic figures. Now, I got mine as review samples direct from Yolopark. As always, all opinions have been 100% my own. I have not been asked to only say good things. If you're looking to grab any of these, I've popped some affiliate links in the description to Yolopark's own website. Like I said, affiliate links, full transparency, any commission earned will be reinvested back into the channel and put towards making new content. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.